Guys, what's up? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. I'm your host, Isaiah, and today we are talking about the comfort and confrontation. What does that mean? What does it look like? And yeah, how to appreciate it, honestly. Before we get into that, if you like what you're listening to, head on over to iTunes, subscribe, click on those stars, leave a review. It goes a long way. Honestly, it's not a task. It's something that's definitely appreciated. And it's a way to get the word out. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're trying to build a nest here. And the more people, the merrier. That's how we heal each other, is by making it a point to heal ourselves. Or just be in the process of healing. So yeah, and that's what I try to do here, honestly. Except for the horror stuff. Speaking of which, if you are into horror, Night Owl for the month of October, 2 episodes a week. 2 episodes a week, every Wednesday and Friday. And for the Patreon supporters, patreon.com/thebirdbrainpodcast. Patreon supporters get a special segment on Halloween to celebrate Halloween properly, because Halloween is my favorite time of year. So we go all out. So yeah, with that being said, get comfortable and let's get into it.
Rise above it all. Stay elevated. And create that infinity. Up your you. Up your you.
Guys, what's up? Happy Monday. Happy Monday. You know what's funny? Confession. I have no idea what episode number this is. I think it's got to be around 100, episode 100 or close to. I know I took a stint over the summer, but I was thinking about it. 2 years. We've been leveling up. If there's 52 weeks in a year, right? 52 weeks in a year. Episode a week. 2 years would be 104. So we'll be close to it, I think, which is pretty exciting. I think that's pretty dope. So yeah, I was just thinking out loud. So yeah, if anybody sees the episode numbers and you're confused, please forgive me. Please don't charge it to my heart, charge it to my mind, because I've been trying to keep up with the numbers of the season. I'm like, I don't know what episode this is, but I think the biggest thing is that 2 years later we're still here, and you guys are here. You know, that's a big deal for me. So yeah, with that being said, welcome. Happy Monday. How's your heart doing? I don't think I've asked you guys that in a while. How's your heart? It's been a crazy week. Last week was a crazy week, but more than anything, I was going to talk about something, and then I had a conversation with my buddy yesterday, my buddy Ian. I've talked about Ian before, but just one of those people that brings peace in my space. And you know, the interesting thing about growing with people is that it's not always about a physical moment of growth. It's literally about, it could be a simple conversation where you both, or one of you, has a different perspective or different take on life up until now, or how you view yourself or how you view a situation. That's growth, you know? And that's what growing with people means. Like having moments where there's just a level up and there's a change and there's a shift. A seed is planted. And Ian is one of my boys that every time we talk, it's a different level. And I think that's so dope. Like, that's so cool. If you could talk to one of your friends and every time you guys talk, there's a different level of just experience or like connection. And not to say that it always has to be that, like it doesn't always have to be leveled, but that's what growing with people, that's what that means. Like you're not doing the same thing over and over again. Like there's always moments of growth and getting better and improving, even if it's just your perspective. So yeah, we were talking, and one of the things we got on the conversation about is like moments that trigger us, moments that trigger us. And we feel like we have to kind of prepare ourselves for battle, whether it's a triggering moment within ourselves that we have to confront this dark part of us, or a moment with someone else that triggers a response in us. And we were talking, and it came down to the thing of like, a lot of times what you're experiencing in a moment of confrontation, or what feels like confrontation, is literally a moment of you recognizing what part of you needs to be comforted. That's what it comes from. My boy Jerry, actually the narrator for the Night Owl that you guys, if you tuned in, Jerry was the narrator on there. Another one of my good friends, and shout out to Jerry because his birthday is today. Happy birthday, Jay. He's a good human, and another person that whenever we talk, there's always just a level up, and I think that's great. But one of the things he said last week was that we all need protection. Everybody's looking to be protected, and in those moments of confrontation, the reason why we feel so inclined to be ready to fight, even if we're at war with ourselves, you know what I'm saying? The reason why we feel like this is going to have to be a thing, a battle we have to prepare for. I just thought about Mulan. Mulan appeared in my head, but preparing for battle, there's something that needs to be protected. And to protect something indicates that, hey, this thing or this person, whatever the case may be, it's important. It's important, and I don't want it to be harmed. So in those moments of confrontation, recognize that's a piece of you that you feel you need comfort, even if it's like an insecurity thing. Like, let's say there are people that you exist in, you exchange with, and what keeps happening is that there seems to be a familiar pattern with the people that you meet and what they kind of ignite in you. And it constantly keeps happening, constantly keeps happening, constantly keeps happening. And you always have to feel like you have to be on your guard. You're constantly confronted with a reminder of something from the past. In other words, you're constantly confronted with a reminder, but very different people, but they all seem to elicit the same response. What that's telling you is that there's a part of you that's wounded that needs to be healed. And think about babies. I've referenced this before. Babies, their needs are very simple, very primitive. And if you break down your own needs, what you're actually looking for, you'll recognize your needs are not any more complicated than a baby's. Actually, your needs are pretty much the same in terms of a baby. It's like either it's hunger, either it's comfort, you want to be held, affection, or you want attention, or something hurts you. So when we respond in those ways, those are our necessities creeping up. Those are things that were not fulfilled at a certain point in time, and we need to address them. It's kind of like the little kid in you is popping out saying like, hey, I'm scared right now. This moment scares me. This person scares me. Something about them scares me. And if you dig a little deeper, hey, something about this moment reminds me of a very unsafe and uncomfortable situation from the past. I don't feel right. So I need you right now. We need something. We need to be comforted. We need to be protected. We need to be taken care of. And in most cases, that's what confrontation comes from. When you're at a disagreement with somebody and you guys are going back and forth and it just feels weird. Like some people enjoy confrontation. Like it's a vibe. Like they look forward to it. I myself, I don't like it. So if I have to have it, it's a different kind of approach that I have. And sometimes it does feel like I have to prepare for battle, if I'm being honest with you, because I do my best to not have to constantly be in that space. But what I'm starting to realize is that anytime I have a moment of uncomfort, that means that there's a part of me that needs to be comforted, and it has not been comforted. It's the baby in me just looking for, hey, I need your attention, and I'm going to get your attention whatever way I can, whether it's a mental thing, whether it's like a physical thing, just something to get your attention. I'm going to do that because right now I don't feel safe and I need to be protected. If you walk around with that knowledge about yourself and also in terms of how other people are moving, I think there's a different level of understanding and peace that you can have. And I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not saying it's going to change overnight. But what I am saying is that you'll have a different level of perspective and understanding for yourself and for someone else whenever there is an exchange of difference, difference in views, opinions, whatever the case may be. When you understand that this person is trying to protect themselves as much as I'm trying to protect myself, and even look at the world we live in right now. All this anger and everything that's going on, it all stems from the fact that everyone is trying to protect themselves. Whether it's trying to protect image, whether it's trying to protect a belief system, whether it's trying to protect views. I feel like that falls under the belief system, but like trying to protect what you know to be true for you. Not anyone else's truth, but your truth, trying to protect that, whatever it is. And we fight because we're primitive animals. So it's like, how do we defend that? We fight because there is a part of us that needs to be protected. And understanding that in your own space, like when you are, let's say you get upset with yourself because how you responded to a situation in a moment, and you're kicking yourself about it, or maybe there's a pattern that you have, like I said, a pattern of response to situations and relationships that you have, like that typically either keeps you separated from people or you sabotage. It's the same thing, but like keep it separated means that you don't even give it space to grow. Sabotage means that it's growing and it has potential to go somewhere, but you throw a little wrench in it because you're like, well, no, we're not doing this. This is too close for comfort. Too close for comfort. You see what I'm saying? Before there's a moment of recognizing that, hey, this part of me needs to be comforted, before it even gets there, you already knock it out the park. So immediately what happens when we don't recognize that is we blame the other person. We blame a situation, or we villainize ourselves too. We villainize ourselves for having needs, like basic needs. And that's not the case. Like, there's a need for comfort in confrontation. There's a need for comfort in confrontation. Whenever there's a moment where you're uncomfortable in maybe your fight, flight, or freeze, whatever happens in that moment of confrontation, understanding that there is a part of you that needs to be comforted right now. It doesn't feel safe and it just needs protection. Can we lean into that? I hope so. This is a pretty short one, but yeah, it was based off of a conversation I had with my buddy. And I've had a few moments last week where I felt like I had to like really just kind of like be on my guard or bite back a little bit, because in essence, I didn't feel like I was being taken care of. I didn't feel like I was being protected, and there was a part of me that needed to be protected. But in itself, that comes from the fact of like, there's a part of me that needs to be comforted and taken care of because he hasn't been. So can you do that? Let's break it down. Let's take a step back. So again, in a moment of confrontation, whatever you feel, where you feel it, that's an indication that there's something going on that needs to be taken care of. There's the baby in you or the little kid in you that's still in that moment where everything happened and is like, hey, I need your attention right now because this person feels familiar, this thing feels familiar, and I don't feel safe. When you learn to comfort that part of you, you can stop repeating the pattern. And again, understand you may not get it overnight. You won't. Let's say that. You won't get it overnight. Are you willing to comfort yourself instead of condemning yourself in those moments? Can you do that? And if you do it for other people, do it for your relationships. If you can't do it for yourself in this moment, I know sometimes we have an easier time of protecting other people before we protect ourselves. This guy right here. So sometimes, hey, if that helps, do it for somebody else. In theory, do it for someone else so you can do it for yourself. All right. So by doing it for someone else, you're technically doing it for yourself. And doing it for yourself, you're technically doing for someone else. It works hand in hand, guys. Trust me, it definitely makes sense. I'm not trying to Yoda you, but it's just something that I really thought about and recognized when I was chatting. And I love that. Like, people need protection, and let people know who you are by the way that you love them. That was also a pretty magical quote from my buddy Jerry. Guys, if you haven't figured it out yet, I have some pretty amazing friends. They're very wise, and each of them have been on their own journey. And I've been on my journey too. Apparently, I'm leaning into that. I've been on a journey through life, and one way or another, we've all found each other. And here we are. And here's the podcast. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Hit me up. Instagram, Twitter, Discord. Just let's talk. Let's chat. And again, before anything, always find little moments to take care of yourself, because that leads to the bigger picture and how you take care of others. And that's what we're here to do, guys. Just take care of each other. All right. So with that, hope you have an amazing week. I love you guys. Take flight. Happy birthday, Jay.